Want to create an AI-assisted non-fiction book that readers just can't put down? Stay tuned to discover the top mistakes to avoid and learn how to make your book really stand out. I read a lot of books on ChatGPT, and I've come to identify three common themes when authors are putting together AI-assisted books with ChatGPT or other AI tools. But before I get into those, if you want to get the prompts that I use when I'm creating my nonfiction books, you can get it from a link below this video, along with links to the books I've written and the tools that I use in the process. And also, if you want a more in-depth dive into writing nonfiction with ChatGPT, you can check out my book, ChatGPT Nonfiction Writer's Companion Guide. Okay, so let's get into it. Three things that really frustrate me when I'm reading books on ChatGPT that have obviously been generated by ChatGPT. One is that the author doesn't do anything. They don't train the AI in their unique voice. So basically, the content coming out is stock standard ChatGPT, which anybody can recognize at a glance. It's very verbose, it's very dry, it's very general, it's basically boring to read. It's factual, but it's not engaging. The second one is when an author does start to edit the work. So they start to put in their own stories and they try to mix it up between the AI generated text and their own, but they don't blend what they've added in, or there's typos or it's poorly written. And so you get this jarring effect from where you've got the AI content and then where the author's written their own bit and then the AI content and the author's, and there's no flow. Okay. And the third one is when they've used ChatGPT or another AI tool to generate the content and then they've spun it. They put it through something like Quillbot or another rephrasing tool, and all they've done is just changed up the wording. So that's in order to fool the AI detectors. And well, to be honest with you, I'm getting a little bit weary of AI detectors because as AI detectors get more advanced, the stuff that passes AI detection today may not pass tomorrow. So let's just see where all that goes. I think the biggest key here, and what I'm talking about today, is readability and the reader experience. Okay, and I believe that, especially if you're looking at publishing on Amazon, if the reader has a good experience with the book, whether it's AI generated or not, it's not a problem. You've got to put some extra work in. So let's come back. Let's talk about readability first. And this comes to the point of just using the stock standard ChatGPT output without training it in your own voice. So there's no quirkiness, there's no personality in it. The thing is, it's not just information you share. You want to create a relationship with the reader. You want the reader to see part of you as the author. If they start to follow you and they enjoy your work, they're going to buy more books. Okay, so you're not going to get that if all you're doing is just totally relying on AI content. People don't really have relationships with computers. Okay, so that's a big thing. Number two is, especially when you put it through stuff like Quillbot and the way that it generates, if you don't refine that, it makes it very, very hard to read. And I was reading a book yesterday, and look, I'm not knocking the author. The author did a great job at curating some amazing information. There is great information in that book. I've just got to find it. I've got to wade through a lot of fluff and fill and words to pick out the gems. Okay, but there are gems in there, and you want to avoid that. You want to get to the point. Like if somebody can show me how to do something in 15 minutes rather than 30 minutes, I'm going to go 15 minutes every time. We're all time poor. We don't need to read 5,000 words when 3,000 words will tell you exactly the same story. So this is the big point. So that's that. And I think that if you put some of this content through some readability tools like the Hemingway editor, which is free on the web, you'll find the readability up around about grade 14 or 15, okay? It makes it very hard to read. Like the brain consumes calories when it has to think. And if it has to think too hard, this is going to go, this is just too much hard work. No, it's a great book, but I'm getting tired just reading it. You want your work to flow. Okay. Now, look, I'm not saying that tools like Quillbot are bad. I use Quillbot myself. Like I'll take a sentence I want to have some, just get a different idea on how to restructure. I'll put a sentence in, and then I'll use Quillbot to restructure that sentence. Then I'll change some of the options, because you can have little drop downs to change the words. And then I will bring that back into my manuscript, and then I'll re-edit it and blend it in. Okay, so I'm not just using Quillbot. I'm not just dumping a whole manuscript into Quillbot saying, spin this with different words, and here it is. Okay, readability. The other thing too is, in copywriting, what they're saying, they write it as if you're talking to an 8-year-old. And that's not because we think that our audience are silly. It just means that, once again, we don't want them to think too hard to get the message. We want our message to flow, come off the page, get them to be able to read, not worry about mumbling and jumbling over extraneous words and that sort of stuff. Just get to the point, make your point, get your message across, and then they can make a decision whether they want to take action or not. And that's the same with your writing. I try to keep my writing readability at a grade 9 level. Okay, so keep the language simple, and just let the words flow off the page. Remove any unnecessary words, all that sort of stuff, so that just every word there has a purpose, and it flows really, really well. And saying so, this part of it is so important. Like even ChatGPT will say, don't just take ChatGPT stuff and put it out there. Okay, you've got to polish it. You've got to rephrase it. You've got to rework it. You've got to restructure it. You've got to add a bit of yourself in there. Okay, to make it a truly good reading experience for your reader. And so, like in here, you can see there's a chapter on exactly this. Coming through and getting the editing process right. This is what's going to make your book stand out. Because I said, I'm seeing this trend. I said, I read a lot of books on ChatGPT that are obviously generated by ChatGPT. Look, I'm sure there's some books out there on ChatGPT that are generated by ChatGPT that aren't like this. I just haven't come across them yet. Okay, but it's so important. The readability. Your goal as an author is to produce a piece of work that's full of information, that solves a problem, that's an engaging read, and that the readers will keep on coming back for more, and they'll actually finish reading. Okay, that's the goal, is to put out a quality product, not to put something out on market very, very quickly. And I think this is what I've seen in some of these books is, yes, there is great content in there, the great tips and that sort of stuff, but they've gone to market very quickly. They've just generated straight out of ChatGPT and either just published that or just respun it and not done it. Now, when I'm coming through and editing, and then I'm adding my own little stories, my own experiences and that sort of stuff, I will put the additional stuff that I've written back through ChatGPT as well, to get it in the same voice, style and tone as the rest of the book. Then I'll bring that edited stuff back into the manuscript, and then I'll re-edit it and blend it in. And that's the way that I work. So I put a lot of work into my books. I spend far more time editing and refining than I do generating content, and that's the important thing. And once again, I said I even put the content through ChatGPT twice. Okay, so because I find that even after it's being trained in my voice and all the other instructions I've given it, the first time through, it's still very wordy. It's verbose. Okay, and sometimes, even though I instruct it to write at a ninth grade reading level, the first run through, it doesn't quite follow that, and I find it comes out to be grade 11 or grade 12. So by putting it back through ChatGPT for a second time and telling it to rewrite it so it's easy to read and a couple of other instructions, the second time through, it cuts out the excess wording, simplifies the language, and I end up with the readability that I want. So that's what I'm trying to get through to you today, is slow down, do it right, make it great. Okay, It's far better to take an extra week or two, and that's all we're saying. Like, seriously, I mean, to go from idea to published book in 2 weeks is still a lot faster than starting from scratch. And we're talking about AI assisted writing here, not AI generated writing. Okay, so we're talking about you as the author guiding the AI through, instructing it, asking for additional information, correcting it, iterating, refining, and going through until you get a product that is truly yours and that you are truly proud to put out onto the market. So just to recap, firstly, take the time to train the AI in your own voice so that the outputs, the responses from ChatGPT aren't the standard, generic, dry, boring stuff, that there's a bit of flair, a bit of personality coming out in the writing. That alone is going to set you apart from 90% of the AI generated or AI assisted books out there at the moment. Number two, take the time to go through and edit it, refine it, restructure it, reword it, rephrase it. Number three, check the readability. Make sure that your content is consumable and understandable and digestible. Okay. Make sure that, like if you've got a lot of great content in a book, make it easy for the reader to consume it. Uh, Help them make it flow. Don't just fill it up with a bunch of words. Word count is not the aim here. With ChatGPT, I can assure you, you can generate more words than you want. Okay. My first run through, I end up with probably 25 to 30% more content than will ever appear in the book. So word count isn't an issue. And from a reader's perspective, they would want a much thinner book that gets straight to the point and solves their problem than a than a thicker book that looks like it's more value, but they've got to wade through a lot of fluff and filler and try to find the gold in there. Okay, so that's the message for you for today. So once again, if you want the prompt guide, and I go through and I talk about ways to train the AI in your unique voice, plus the prompts that I use to generate my manuscripts, you can get that from the link below. Links to my other books are also in the description below, so you can have a deep dive into this. This goes into a lot more than just writing your book. So this goes from idea to writing your book to promoting your book, and even then what to do after your book's done to create additional content, how to monetize, all sorts of stuff. It's all in here. Okay, so that's it for today. Happy writing, but remember, slow down, do it right, make it great, and you will stand out.